Welcome to another episode of Writing on Caffeine, the podcast where you can come along on a journey with a father and daughter as we attempt to write our first novels. I am Jonathan Franzone, and this is my daughter.
I'm Ragan, also Franzone.
Tonight we are meeting at my house again. That just seems to be the trend since your schedule is so weird.
Yep.
And tonight we are not drinking caffeine.
We are not.
What are we drinking?
We are drinking margaritas.
Margaritaville, that's right. So how's the writing coming, Ragan?
I'm trying to think if I've written since the last time we podcasted. I think I did.
Oh, good.
Just a little bit. Not a whole lot, but I did write something.
I opened up my writing. I opened up Scrivener a couple times and looked at the outlining and didn't write a single word.
Hey, progress.
But I thought real hard about it.
You approached it.
And I tried to start getting back into the story, so
yeah,
that was something.
Well, that's better than nothing.
Yeah.
We're both going to end up doing our consequences by the end of the year. But
yeah, it looks that way. So we have talked about protagonists, we have talked about antagonists, and so tonight we're going to talk about side characters.
Yes.
So side characters, often referred to as supporting characters, play vital roles in fleshing out a story's world, helping to advance the plot and offering deeper insights into the protagonist and the narrative themes. We came up with 10 attributes and qualities that can make for better side characters. So the first one is distinct personality. So side characters should have their own unique personalities, traits, and quirks that make them memorable. They should not feel like mere props, but like real people with their own characteristics.
Right. So you actually have to develop them a little bit in order for them to seem like not like weird.
Right, yeah.
You know in the Jumanji movie, the new one.
Oh, the new
Rock
one?
in it,
Yeah.
When like the NPCs just say the exact same line over
Yes.
and over again, you don't want them to be like that.
Yeah, that's not a side character. That's an NPC.
Right. Second attribute is relevance to the plot. A compelling side character serves a purpose within the story, whether it's providing insight, helping or opposing the protagonist, or revealing some aspect of the main characters or the world.
Yeah, you wouldn't want a side character or a supporting character that just is constantly going along for the ride and not doing anything.
Right.
Or helping in any way. They're just kind of there. That would be very boring.
I can actually think of one.
Okay.
In the Witcher series, there's, the main character is Geralt of Rivia. He's the Witcher. Mm-hmm. But he's always got this, sidekick guy who's a bard. And he just, shows up everywhere. His name's Dandelion. And he's just shows up everywhere and just follows Geralt around, but he always just ends up in danger. And Geralt just has to save him. Or he ends up causing problems by, making people mad with his songs or something. But he's, not relevant to the plot at all. He's just there.
Is he more like comic relief?
Yeah.
Okay. He does serve some purpose.
Some purpose. I mean, he's a really great character.
That reminds me of the bards that follow brave Sir Robin.
Yes.
In Monty Python's Holy Grail. So the third characteristic we have is variety.
Yep.
A diverse array of side characters can provide contrast and depth to your story. They can represent different backgrounds, ideologies, and personalities, which can enrich the story's universe.
Correct.
I can think of a really good example of this in Fireblood. So, you had different characters, and they all had really unique backgrounds. Mm-hmm. The monk-type dude.
Oh, the Bhikkhu.
The Bhikkhu. Was really different from the main character. And
then his sister was like a gypsy type girl because she was from a different culture. It added to the story greatly because you're getting context of the whole world, not just this one place that the main character came from.
Yeah.
You're seeing things he's mentioning an event that happened and they're talking about how it affected their group of people.
Right. Yeah.
So consistency. Even if the side character's role is minor, they should act consistently with their established personalities and motivations. Inconsistency without reason can break the reader's immersion. I have so many things to say about this.
Well, go ahead.
I'm scared.
Fear not.
I have read a book. It is the unnamed book that I always talk about.
Okay, yeah, the unnamed book.
The unnamed book. And every single side character is so wildly inconsistent. I have absolutely no idea what's happening the entire time.
That's awesome.
They will just have a specific personality and then something happens and like on the flip of a dime, they're just a completely different character. And it is the most frustrating thing I've ever read in my entire life.
So it doesn't read well?
No. And literally the only way I can tell what character she's talking about, the main character, what character the main character is describing, is by like this one attribute that the author will contribute or attribute to each character.
Yeah.
And they describe them this specific way every single time. So it's never like the character's name. They will occasionally mention the character's name, but it's always the girl with the fiery red hair. The girl with the fiery red hair said. The girl with the fiery red hair did this. The girl with the... I'm like, she has a name. Can we do something else? I'm confused.
Yeah, that's a little annoying.
Sorry, tangent over.
No, that's fine. I think that attribute is one that is true of all the character types, really.
Yeah.
You don't want to write characters that are just insane and just different from scene to scene with no reason.
Here's the thing. If you want a specific emotion pulled from a scene, you need to prepare your story beforehand. If there's that specific scene and you want to elicit that specific emotion, but the characters you already have cannot help you reach that emotion, you need to either write a different character or rewrite the before part.
Right, yeah.
Because randomly switching characters' personalities is terrible.
Yeah, agreed. Number 5 is interactions. So the way side characters interact with the protagonist and other characters adds texture to the story. Whether through friendship, rivalry, mentorship, or another dynamic, these interactions can reveal new facets of the main characters and the story. Side characters will often contrast with or complement the protagonist.
Or both.
Or both, yeah.
That's very common in a romantic side character.
Oh, yeah.
They will kind of contrast, but also complement.
Right.
Because, you know, opposites attract or whatever.
Opposites attract. We come together.
Attribute number 6 is distinctiveness. Side characters should stand out from one another. This can be achieved through distinctive dialogue, physical characteristics, or unique personal histories.
Yeah, this is kind of a little bit like number 3, variety, and a little bit like number 1, distinct personality. Mm-hmm. But this is more some side character that just has a really weird quirk. Mm-hmm. Something that just really makes them pop out. Brandon Sanderson does some interesting things with this. Really, it's more about world building with that. The instance I was thinking of is the safe hand in The Way of Kings.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just this weird thing that kind of draws your attention to the fact that women have to keep one hand closed.
It's a limitation
covered.
in the world.
Right. And I don't think it happens in Way of Kings, but in the next book you'll have a character that she wears a glove and not like the full sleeve.
No, there is.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a distinctive thing for her because she's like pushing the edge of propriety.
Right.
All right, 7, limitation. So while it's important to develop side characters, it's also essential not to let them overshadow the protagonist. They should enhance the story, not detract from its primary focus.
So, if you're writing a side character and they're more interesting than your main character, you're writing the wrong story.
That's right. That's right. You may need to circle back around or
rewrite something.
Rewrite something, yeah.
8 is growth and change. Though not necessary for every side character, showing growth or change in response to events in the story can make a side character more realistic and engaging.
That's another one of those that's pretty much true of any character. It was the same for protagonists and antagonists.
Yeah.
So you want them to change and grow, not be static.
Right.
Makes them more interesting. And number 9, provide humor or relief. So often side characters provide comic relief or emotional contrast to the main plot. This can be a refreshing break for readers and adds to the emotional richness of the story.
But you don't want just a stupid side character.
Right.
Also, they have to have some depth.
Yes.
They can't just see even like Sokka from Avatar has depth.
Oh yeah.
He's not just the funny guy.
Yeah, he makes a great sidekick because he's so funny and he does often provide a lot of comic relief.
But he can also be very serious.
He can be very serious and he's got backstory. He's got a growth arc. Yeah, he's a great character. I like Sokka.
Don't we all?
All right, final one.
Symbolism. Sometimes a side character can symbolize a theme or idea within the story, serving as a metaphorical representation of an abstract concept. This can add layers of meaning to the narrative.
So as I mentioned before we started recording, I couldn't think of any for symbolism in modern fiction or anything, but I thought of The Pilgrim's Progress, which is a book where every character is basically a symbol.
Yeah, everything is symbolic.
Right. So you mentioned you could think of some. Who would you prop up as a side character that symbolizes something?
Peeta and Gale in the Hunger Games
Okay, what do they
are
symbolize?
very symbolic. So throughout the entire story, Katniss is trying to decide, do I love Gale? Do I love Peeta? And throughout the entire books, it's very obvious, if you're looking, that Gale really symbolizes staying the same.
Status quo.
Right. Fighting back a little bit, but mostly for personal gain. Whereas Peeta is completely self-sacrificial and peaceful. And so Gale is war and depression and angst. And Peeta is just joy and like peaceful. And so towards the end especially, it gets very prominent that Peeta is what she's looking for because she
Right.
was looking for peace, not war.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. That's very good.
Yeah.
And since you're in Hunger Games, I actually did come up with a couple, and I had Peeta and Gale down as side characters. What other things about them make them good side characters or supporting characters?
Well, something that's really interesting.
There's definitely a contrast there.
Yeah, there's a lot of contrast because Gale is like this big manly man who, you know, wants to fight and can hunt and can protect himself. And Peeta's kind of like a little rich boy, doesn't really know how to take care of himself. And there's a lot of contrast there.
I guess in the movies that kind of set him up as a strong guy too, Peeta.
He is strong. They do characterize him as strong. But he's also, you know, very emotional and artistic and whatever. Because
Right.
he paints cakes in a cake factory. For some reason, that was supposed to make... They're like, he's artistic because he decorates cakes.
Yeah.
Therefore, he
He's
can
the cake
paint.
boss.
I was like, I don't know if that quite connects, but okay. I'll accept it.
Yeah. And then I thought Effie and then Haymitch were two interesting supporting characters.
Yes.
So you have Effie, who is a part of the system. She's a part of First District,
No,
and
she's part of the Capitol.
or the Capitol rather. And so she's just within that system, and she plays by all the rules. But as the story develops, she kind of also wants to do the right thing.
Right.
And she's kind of pulled. She's almost like a moderate in today's speak. Like she's on the left, but she's kind of more moderate, and she wants to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And then you have Haymitch, who is a member of like the Resistance. He was one of the fighters, one of the what do you call them, champions?
A victor, yeah.
A victor. But he has to like kind of work within the capital system
Right.
because he is a victor.
Both of them have massive character arcs as
Yeah.
well. Like you said, Effie starts off excited about the Hunger Games. She's excited about, like, when Katniss and Peeta get on the train, she's telling them, like, aren't you so excited you get to spend, even though you're going to die, you get to spend all this time in the Capitol and you experience all these nice things. And then by the second book, when Katniss and Peeta get reaped again, she's, like, visibly distressed,
Right.
very upset, and she's starting to recognize the brutality of the world that she's living in.
Yeah. She kind of gets red pilled.
Yeah. And then at the very end, you know, she actually, so in the movies, she ends up getting, like, taken back to District 13
Right.
and experiencing kind of living in those bunkers and stuff. That doesn't happen in the book.
Oh, okay.
She kind of doesn't really have a lot of appearance. But she has a lot of character growth between the first and the second book, for sure.
Okay.
And then Haymitch, like you said, is a victor of, I think, the 50th Hunger Games, and which was very exciting because, like, the 50th Hunger Games, instead of having 12 tributes, there were 24 tributes. And so he had to fight off extra whatever. But you find out as the story goes on, because in the beginning, he's introduced as a drunk.
Right.
He's a drunk, he's sloppy, he's always just throwing up on stuff and spilling alcohol everywhere, and he's messy, and he doesn't really want to help Katniss and Peeta.
Right.
He
yeah.
does end up helping them because he realizes that Katniss has a chance of winning. as the story goes on, you realize that he is the way that he is because the capital has taken everyone from him, all of his family, all of his loved ones, and all he does is drink because...
He's trying to drink his sorrows away.
And he's trying to make himself undesirable to the capital.
Oh.
Because they don't want him around because he's so sloppy.
So it's kind of tactical as
right.
well.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's a great character. I love him.
So since we're talking about symbolism, I'll just mention a couple of the Pilgrim's Progress characters. So one of them is, his name is actually Evangelist. Mm-hmm. So he actually symbolizes sort of spiritual guidance, and he points Christian towards the path of salvation, just like a modern evangelist would do. And then a really cool part of the story that I love is Christian and his partner at the time, I can't remember which one is with him, but they get stuck in a castle of giant despair. Mm-hmm. And so he's the keeper of Doubting Castle, and so it just symbolizes hopelessness and spiritual depression. Mm-hmm. And they get locked in this dungeon, and they're just being abused by this giant. Yeah. And just beaten down, and they think all hope is lost. And
it's so probably hopeful.
Yeah. Probably, yeah. And so, this giant symbolizes, the depression that, often people go through when times are hard, when you don't feel like God's there.
Right.
That sort of thing. You've got Hopeful, as you mentioned, who represents, hope.
Yeah.
You've got Faithful, who's just a very faithful companion.
Right.
So those are some of the characters from Pilgrim's Progress. They're side characters. Christian is the main character, and as you can imagine, it's the story of
symbolic
Christian faith
right.
that he's walking. So similar to the play on names there, I've recently read Out of the Silent Planet. Mm. And so in the very beginning of the book, the main character, his name is Ransom, mm-hmm. but in the very beginning of the book, it refers to him as a pilgrim.
Yeah.
Like he's just walking along on this journey, and it's not until like the third or fourth chapter that you find out his name is Ransom. And so this main character actually has a lot of symbolism built into his character. So in the beginning, he's just traveling along, and then he actually gets kidnapped. Mm-hmm. And then as the story progresses, you see that he kind of becomes a ransom for other people, for innocent people.
C.S. Lewis books are very symbolic as well.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah. The Narnia series is full of symbolism.
With Lion Jesus and all.
So some other side characters I have are from Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. So you have Samwise Gamgee. Has a very distinctive personality, I thought. Yeah. Because he's very innocent and faithful. He's not wise to the ways of the world, whereas Frodo kind of comes from, the family of Bagginses who are notorious for being adventurers. The Dukes. Yeah, so he's that faithful, and that makes him distinctive. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of plot relevance. Yeah. So he actually is instrumental in many points of the plot. Like Frodo gets captured by Shelob, the huge spider. Yep. And Sam has to rescue him. At first he thinks he's dead, so he takes the ring, and he's going to take on the journey and carry the ring to Mount Doom. But then he realizes Frodo's alive, and so he basically assails this guard tower with a bunch of orcs in it and saves Frodo. Oh, Sam. Sam's a great character. He is really a He has a huge growth arc. Mm-hmm. So he goes from this, gardener, nobody, hobbit to this guy who's traveled the world. And then eventually in the books, it's not really in the movies, but in the books, when they return home, like, he's basically a victor. Like, he's just this, warrior that's come home to Hobbiton, mm-hmm. which is really cool. And then you've got Merry and Pippin. Yep. Who provide a lot of comic relief. Mm. So they're always dancing and goofing off.
They provide a lot of insight into their life as hobbits. They give a lot of cultural tidbits.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you've got Pippin dancing on the tables at the Prancing Pony. Mm-hmm. And I think Merry was too, actually.
And which one was it that was with what's-his-face? That sings the song?
That's Pippin. Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the Steward of Gondor.
Yeah.
Denethor. Mm-hmm. Yeah. while he's eating his tomatoes.
Goodness gracious. Oh, I was going to bring up the side character of Syl in The Way of Kings.
Oh, yeah.
She provides a lot, I think, to Kaladin.
Yeah.
She has a very big arc.
Yeah, she has a very big arc.
Being a windspren and kind of just being annoying at the very beginning and kind of following Kaladin around and bugging him and making him trip and whatever. And eventually their relationship grows and she helps him survive and saves him from committing suicide a couple times.
Yeah, yeah. She goes initially from almost like a bug, some magical bug or something that just kind of bugs him.
Yeah.
And then, turns out she's a real person and
right.
She's got a consciousness.
And she's different because most Spren don't have consciousness. They can't remember things and like have conversations with people.
You'll find out more about that in the next book.
I'm sure I will. But I was shocked just by her development in the first book.
Yeah.
And she does get like a humanoid form.
Right.
Closer to the end.
Yeah, that's a great side character. So I got to bring up Wayne from Wax and Wayne series.
Yeah. With his hats.
Like, he is an amazing side character.
He is.
He's got comic relief, like tons of comic relief. He is just hilarious. I found myself laughing literally out loud.
We talk about him at least once a podcast.
Yeah, maybe. And distinctive. Like, the dude is a thief.
Yeah.
He's constantly wearing hats and making up different personalities and accents. And it's really interesting how much Brandon Sanderson does with his character.
For side characters, if we're on Sanderson kick, welcome back to the Brandon Sanderson Fan Club podcast. We can talk about what's his face in Mistborn, the smart guy that turns into God.
Oh. Sazed?
Sazed.
Or Sazed?
Freaking Sazed. In the first book, he's a great side character.
Yeah.
He provides a lot of information and a lot of exposition.
Right, yeah.
Even Kelsier. Would you consider him a side character? Because I feel like Vin is the main character.
Yeah, I think Vin is, in many ways, the main character.
There's a lot of side characters in Mistborn that are really good, like Breeze.
Yeah.
Breeze is a great side character.
It's almost like in epic fantasy, you have multiple main characters. Mm-hmm. You probably do have one main character, but you can do so much in epic fantasy that...
You could argue that Kelsier and Vin are both main characters.
Right.
Breeze is definitely a side character, though.
Definitely.
And he's a great character.
Yeah.
He's funny, and he's, all fancy and always has his little walking cane, but he's a ska.
Right.
Which you find out later in the book, which is interesting. But he's got a good character development, too, because he's kind of like prissy and annoying at the very beginning. He gets better.
Right, yeah. Speaking of smart sidekicks, Harry Potter... You have Hermione.
I thought you were going to say Ron, and I was like, wrong.
No, so, Harry, as you've pointed out before, is kind of dumb.
He is. Oh, my goodness.
So you have Hermione, who provides the intelligence.
Right.
In their trio. So she does a lot, and her and Ron both, I think, provide a level of comic relief often. Together, just because of the way they interact. Mm-hmm. So you've got good interactions with Harry and with the main character Harry.
Right.
Fred and George
are definitely comic relief.
They're definitely comic relief, but they have growth arcs. They provide a lot for the plot.
Ginny
in
the books. Let me specify, not Ginny in the movies.
Not Ginny in the movies.
We don't recognize her. Ginny in the books.
So yeah, she's good. Neville Longbottom has a good growth arc as a side character. It could have been him as the chosen one, but
yeah, Luna
is great. Yeah, she's very distinctive.
She is. Yeah, and she is helpful a couple times.
Has a lot of quirkiness.
I think Ron, it's hard to pinpoint like what his part is in the trio.
Yeah,
because Harry is the jock,
right?
And Hermione is the brains. So what is Ron? But I think he's just kind of like what holds them together.
Yeah.
Because he is very loyal. Except for that one point.
Except for that one
time. Actually, no. Twice.
Right.
That one time in the fourth book, and then that one time when they're walking around with the locket and he gets all weird and runs away. But
yeah.
Most of the time he is very loyal to Harry.
I'd say he represents a really good friendship. Mm-hmm. because he and Harry are just the best of friends.
Yeah.
And even when they have fallings out, they come back together.
Mm-hmm.
And Ron comes from the wizarding world. Like,
Right.
he grew up in it. He's steeped in it. And so to him, the Muggle world is strange and unique, versus Harry, who grew up in the Muggle world. And so everything magic to him is amazing and different.
And he's got to be a little bit smart because he does end up being a prefect at some point in the books, which a lot of people forget.
Yeah, yeah. So Sherlock Holmes, you've got Dr. Watson.
Yep.
Is the main side character who contrasts with Sherlock. And depending on which Sherlock you're talking about, the books or the modern series, which I love that modern BBC series, Sherlock.
Oh, yeah. What's his face?
Cumberbatch?
No. I'm talking about the guy who plays Watson.
Oh, yeah. I don't know his
He does a
name.
great job.
Oh, yeah, he's really good. So he provides the contrast of more level-headed, trying to be safe,
Yeah.
do things by the book, whereas Sherlock is just this, drug-addled, crazy person who is also brilliant.
Right.
What do they call that, a sociopath? Or?
A high-functioning sociopath is what he calls himself.
Yeah. I've got one on here, Ron Swanson. It's not a book, but in the series, Ron Swanson offers an amazing contrast to Leslie Knope.
Right.
Because she's all about government, and she loves to be in the government, and Ron's primary goal is to end everything government.
He's trying to take down the government from the inside
Right.
through the Parks and Recreation Department.
Yeah, he's very conservative. He loves meat and shooting things.
Yeah.
He's also very funny at times.
He has a lot of respect for manliness.
Right, yeah.
In the book I'm reading right now, there are some very diverse characters. I'm reading The City of Bones,
Okay.
which is part of a series called the Shadow Hunter series. About halfway through it, but there are like 3, I would say, side characters, and 2 of them are from like this magic world that the main character discovers that she's part of. They're the Shadow Hunters, which they claim are the Nephilim, which are people who
interesting.
are hunting demons.
Right.
Which is interesting. Then the other side character is her friend from like the human world.
Okay.
And so she's hanging out with these shadow hunter kids and trying to figure out, where her mom was kidnapped to. But then the shadow hunter kids and the human world kids are always fighting with each other. And but they provide a lot of context for a lot of things. The one human kid is helpful because he knows her past and he kind of has been friends with her for a really long time, and so she feels safe, with him. But then the other kids are also trying to protect her from other things that she doesn't know are there. They're kind of more exposition and
Right.
world introducing characters.
Okay. So what about in your book that you're writing? Who's your side character? You want to talk about him?
Sure. I'm not quite sure who he is, but my side character is a boy who my main character runs into in an unfortunate situation that she finds herself in. And he is one of those characters where he's kind of steeped in the world,
Right.
and she's not.
Okay.
So he kind of provides some help there. He's kind of a Brutus, so, it kind of helps with the muscles and fighting things.
That's helpful in a way.
There always needs to be a Brutus and a YA, He's mildly underdeveloped, but he's existing. I'm trying to pinpoint his complete personality. Why
Yeah.
don't you tell us about your side character?
Yeah, so I've got a couple side characters. My main character is this troll kid. He's about 12, and he wants to be a magic user, but he's not. This younger girl, she's maybe 10-ish. She's kind of in his circle of people, so he hangs out with this mage wizard older dude, and it's his granddaughter, and she's always bugging the fool out of the main character. She talks a lot nonstop, asks tons of questions, whereas he likes to be silent and not talk as much. So you've got that kind of difference. She's also like just unnaturally gifted with magic, and she doesn't even have to work at it.
Nice.
Which contrasts with his inability to use magic, which kind of frustrates him and aggravates him. And then I also have him crossing over into the human world, which is all technology and no magic. And so he befriends a human kid. I can't remember his name right now, but so you've got the contrast of a kid his own age. They're both about the same kind of kid, but this human kid is in the world of science and technology versus magic. And so you've got the whole exploration of those two different worlds, or the clash of those two worlds.
Gotcha. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear more about it.
Yeah, me too.
It really be like that. So I just thought of one while you're talking. This book I read a little while ago called The Shadows of What Was Lost. Just that thick, epic fantasy that I read.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The main character, I could not tell you his name for the life of me, is...
Oh, I remember you telling me about this book, yeah.
some special kind of magic that's different from the other kind of magic. Anyway, he's in this magic school where they have to learn how to use it or whatever, and he can't, but his best friend is really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's always kind of encouraging him to keep trying, and they end up running away because somebody's trying to murder them. And as they go through the story, the main character kind of grows into his forbidden new special magic, and you actually find out that the side character, which I cannot remember his name, I can't remember either of their names, the side character is like the prince of the kingdom who like went there undercover to learn magic or something. And so he's a really fun character, and he's kind of annoying because he's kind of, entitled.
Yeah.
But, he's got an interesting personality. I wasn't a huge fan of him actually at the very beginning of the book, but I grew to appreciate him more towards the end.
Yeah.
That book is kind of a blur in my head. I'm going to have to go back and read it for sure. But
That's most books that I can remember reading, if I can remember reading them.
we were talking about side characters. A few episodes ago, I proposed the fact that the Doctor is the side character in his own TV show. He's really cool because he's got a lot of variety.
Right.
Because every few seasons he changes to a different person.
Yep. Yeah, plus he picks up the different companions, and they're all different.
Right.
So depending on your view of who the main character is.
Right.
Maybe the TARDIS is the main character.
There you go. I think in the old series, the Doctor was definitely the main character.
Yeah.
But I think in the newer ones, it really does revolve more around the companions.
The companions, yeah.
Because I would definitely say that K9 is a side character.
K9!
I would say that Sarah Jane is a side character.
And then Mickey has to sit in the car with the dog.
Mickey is a side character. Mickey is a side character.
Definitely.
Mickey is a great side character. Talk about character arc.
Yes, he has a huge growth arc.
He does great. He goes from this whiny,
Coward.
bumbling coward
Yes.
to this awesome alien fighting,
He's running around shooting aliens with Martha Jones.
butt kicking dude. Yes, that's a good side character.
Yeah, Jackie Tyler, side character.
She's good too.
Yeah.
Oh, what about Craig?
Craig. Two different series. Yeah, Craig, his kid is Stormageddon. You talking about that one? Yeah.
He's a good side character.
He's a funny side character.
Reoccurring.
Yeah.
But if we're switching series, Bert and Guster is a great side character. If we're going to talk about TV shows while we're here.
Yeah, those two are definitely good at playing off each other. Mm-hmm. So Burton offers a lot of contrast to Sean. So Ragan, what books are you reading or have you recently finished?
I have finished The Way of Kings.
Yay!
Woo! That was great. 5 out of 5.
Yes.
Great book. I was listening to it on audiobook in my car, screaming at the climax at the end. I was just freaking out in my car, like screaming at characters and trying to direct them to what they needed to do. And I look over and this guy is in his truck staring at me like I'm crazy. So that was cool. I finished reading The Sword of Destiny, which is one of the Witcher books.
Okay.
I cannot pronounce the author's last name. It's like Andrzej Glopowski or
The Giant.
Something like that. I started reading Prince Caspian.
Okay.
I am reading City of Bones.
Right.
And then also I am reading... Oh, I'm about to start Elantris.
Okay.
So,
You're juggling a lot.
yeah.
So you're going to Elantris and not the next Stormlight series.
Yeah, I need to break it up.
Yeah.
Also, I am reading The Hobbit because I actually read some of that
Yay.
today.
Yeah, I have not read The Hobbit in a number of months, but I'll still keep it on the list. So I am finishing up the Green Ember series. So it's Ember's End is the 4th book. And I'm just about at the climax. I think I'm in the middle of the climax. I'm listening to the audiobook. And the last time I was driving somewhere, you could tell, like, right before this point, like, the world was ending, basically. And now they've got reinforcements and stuff's happening. So I can tell it's the climax. And there's only an hour and a half left in the book. So.
Yeah. They gotta wrap it up.
That's right. So it's a really, really good book, really good series. I think last time I mentioned I finished Out of the Silent Planet, and I've started reading Paralandria, the second of the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. Very good. I love that one as well. And actually, I'm meeting with a group of guys to discuss the entire trilogy Sunday. So I'm going to try to power through Paralandria and That Hideous Strength before now on Sunday. So that should be fun.
Yeah. While we're on the subject of books we're reading and books we're not reading, what was your 2023 reading goal?
50 books.
And how are you doing on that?
I think at 25, like exactly halfway.
I am 11 books behind currently. I think I'm on 19 or 20.
Yeah. I think I'm a couple books behind. I mean, I'm halfway and it's August, so obviously I am a little behind, but I think I'll catch up. I mean, I'm about to finish 2 books in the next couple days.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to have to power through the Narnia series. Just pew, pew, pew.
Those are surprisingly short, though, so.
They are. That's why I'm going to power through.
Yeah, it should be easy. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Writing on Caffeine. We hope you'll join us again in 2 weeks. Please subscribe wherever you find podcasts. If you are so inclined, leave us a review. 5-star reviews are preferable. Be sure to visit the website, Writing on Caffeine, where you can view the show notes and subscribe to our email list so that you never miss an episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye. So you have Effie, who is kind of a part of the... Let the cat out.